Goed. Mijn naam is Marcel van Pinksteren. My name is Marcel van Pinksteren, sorry. A little bit of my background. I've been a .NET developer for almost 15 years. Visual Basic .NET even. Not something to be proud of. I'm proud to have left this behind me. In my next career move, I decided I want to join the new wave. I was inspired by a blog post from several years ago, 2014. .NET is object-oriented, and page down. It's a really long story, so I recommend everybody to read this at home. So the gist of the story is functional programming is a good idea. So I decided to switch to Elixir because that's I had a little bit knowledge of Ruby on Rails, and Elixir is a natural step if you want to combine it with functional programming. So I want to be a full stack developer, so for the front end I chose Ember. So that's why I put on my t-shirt, and that's why I put this ambitious there, because you can be an ambitious developer with Elm as well. But if you start reading on functional programming, you get all these terms. You think, well, Haskell, I first have to learn Haskell because it's like the father of functional programming. And you have to understand what is a monad and a monolith, and a functor, and an applicative functor. So, do I have to learn all this before I can be a functional programmer? Well, I met Evan. I went to San Francisco a few months ago, and he's a really nice guy. I was at one of these hack nights, the kind of meetup that we try to be here in Holland. So he introduces himself as I'm Evan, the creator of Elm, nothing more, nothing less. He thinks Elm is a nice language, easy to learn, and it has a friendly community. And like Evan, he's a nice guy, he's easygoing, and he's very friendly. So he's the ideal guy for making this language. And the good thing is, he's a very clever guy, so the less clever guys like me can be a functional programmer with Elm. And well, you saw plenty of examples before me. You can just start hacking away, starting with a very simple app and adding things piece by piece. And you make a change, the compiler complains, you correct, and the compiler is happy again, and then you make a new change. So it's like playing ping pong with the compiler. Very a good developer experience. For me, when I made my first steps into functional programming, I was looking for an app that I could build which was small enough for one single developer. So I thought of an Uber app, an app that can help the waiter in a restaurant. Maybe I should give a very quick demo. So this is my Uber app. So you can look at the menu and you can click on things. It's very, and it works on a mobile as well, of course. So this is my third version. My first, I was looking for a very lightweight front-end framework because I wanted it to be very small, so it would load quickly on a mobile device. It was some Phonon framework. That was my first version. This is the Elm version, but I wanted it to look good, and I'm not a designer, so I just wanted to use an existing library to help me to make it look like what people expect on a mobile phone, make it look like WhatsApp. What is it? Have people heard of material design Lite? Material design Lite introduces the things like this bar and buttons, like this kind of button. And there's this MDL library. This one. This is what really I thought, well, this is a good set of tools for me to make what I want to build. See? And what I would want to show is how to start using this library in a very simple app. So I took the Elm Architecture tutorial. What is this? The counter pair. And let's start the. That's already running. So just to show what you need to do to use an external library. See, I made this change. I added a dependency. And an import. You just look at the documentation of the library. It explains how to start using it. You have to expand your model with a reference to the external model of the library.
There is this MDL library specifically for Elm, or is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you can, if you look at the source code, it's one guy, a very clever guy from Denmark who started it, and now it's already a small team with a lot of commits, very active. And it's all, as you see, it's all Elm code. And there's the button. So if you want to learn some advanced Elm, this is all stuff that is far beyond me. But I just want to show you, you don't have to understand all of this to be able to use it. If you suppose you just want to have your material design buttons, I can check out. If I check out this one, I can show you that you get, it recompiles, and of course I get an error. So I make a change. This is it complains about the init function, as you saw here. it expects an MDL added to the model. That was my next change that I made here. I'm used to Visual Studio.net. I switched over to Vim, but these kind of things are not really into the Git command line yet. So I resolved one problem, but I still have another problem because the library enforces another message that I need to implement in my update function. Let's see what it changed. What it changed here. See, I added. Now I'm going to add an update switch. So now it's okay with the update case, but it says it's returning something different than the other cases. And the library forces me to return a model and a command. Okay, so I have to make some more changes. The beginner program is a simple version of an Elm program. It's not enough to be able to use the MDL library, so I have to switch. And my update function, I have to add commands to make make sure it has everything has the same type. So I'm adding this. And now it compiles. And it still works. But it's not a button. The button is still a normal button here. So that's my final change. See, I read the documentation and it tells me what I need to do to have a material design button in my view. So I just change my code accordingly. And because the MDL library depends on some stuff you have to download from Google, the material design CSS and JavaScript, of course. I have to make a little change to make sure that the right HTML is generated and used. So check out this. Now the loading takes a little bit longer because it has to go to internet. Where's my? Yeah, it still compiles it. Okay. That's the demo effect, I guess. Didn't. Works at home. This helps. I'm afraid I have to give up here. So just a small demonstration of my the little steps that I took to include my MDL library. I'm happy to show the code of my Ober app. It's a lot more advanced. I've separated my app in several components, so I can show you the how how you divide up your application to make it maintainable. And when you first start with Elm, you start out with one file, main.elm, with a view, update, and model functions all in one file. But there's a there's no real agreement on how to separate files or how to structure your app. But I can show you how I structured my app and how it helps to make sense of the whole thing. Okay. Are there any? Oh, let me go back to my presentation because. Okay. Any questions on this?
Hi, so I noticed your Ober.io app is on the internet. I can use it on my phone.
Uh-huh.
I noticed you have a secure HTTPS.
Uh-huh.
How did you set all of that up? Did you do that through like a proxy or through Elm itself? Like what's going on in there?
Well, I'm a lazy developer. I think every developer should be lazy. So I looked for a good tool to help me to deploy my apps. And I'm using Doku. Do you know Heroku?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's Doku. It helps you to be your own Heroku provider. Doku.com, I guess. My internet is, well, you get the idea. Doku.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah. Let's Encrypt. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little script for Doku and Let's Encrypt. So there's a few lines of command lines, and you have your HTTPS running. It's really really easy.
But so you deploy the code through Doku, or
Yeah.
is there another? Okay.
No.
So Doku does most of the work for you to get it up and running on the Ober.io site.
Yeah. So I
Okay.
do git push Doku and.
Actually, if
Okay.
you be even more lazy, I would suggest you try NowSH. It's a new thing for hosting Node.js or static websites.
Sorry.
NowSH. Try NowSH for static websites or Node.js application. I think for Elm projects it's super
Yeah.
cool. It's
Yeah,
free
but
and you
I
have
have
HTTPS.
I have a
from
Phoenix backend, and it's all complicated. I went through several iterations there because there's a good example. No,
Can I
I
ask
can't
a
show
really
you.
loaded question? Is it that hard to set up Nginx and just serve your files?
That's what I was thinking about doing, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
I don't-
Like,
I'm sorry,
every,
it's not.
it seems like every language has its own way of getting it out there. Because like Nginx, like Apache, we all like evolved through
I
various
think I'm
stages.
all for being lazy, but you know, it's just get Nginx up and running. It's not.
These are all static files, so you can just upload them to any folder that serves HTTP.
Maybe you're not as lazy as we are.
Well, let's not make it a contest. Who is the most lazy?
If you're lazy, use GitHub Pages and make a repository.
No, there's even a little plugin for Doku to have your static site, but it's Nginx and a little layer in between.
But as the guy said, it's
Yeah.
just static files. So
Yeah, but there's several ways to go about this. There's also a good blog post on how to include your Elm in your Phoenix app, and then you can deploy the whole thing in one go. But my next version, I want to separate things, so I will have a Phoenix API, and this will be just a static part. But you have to make choices there. Okay, there was another question.
Yeah, you said you have Phoenix on the back end. So do you have to write a lot of code to synchronize the data between the client and the server, or is that easy?
It's not finished yet. The only communication currently between the front end and the back end is an API, a JSON file that, or a stream that goes from the back end to the front end. And I still have to implement the channel communication that I want to build. So every event on the front end has to travel to the back end through a Phoenix channel. And there's a very young Elm Phoenix channel library that makes it very easy, should make it easy to build this thing. So there's, well, libraries popping up everywhere.
Was it easy to make the step from Phoenix to Elm, syntax-wise, or maybe architecture-wise, the way you think about your code?
Yeah, the syntax is a bit different. Elm is more strict and is more well, it's inspired by Haskell. Evan is a Haskell programmer, and Elixir is more it has it's not as strict, but it's still the functional way of thinking, and it's all immutable. Everything is a function, so it's a good combination. I think it's easier to have this combination than, for instance, have Ruby on Rails on or .NET on the back end and have your Elm on the front end.
Okay, thank you.
So this is a bit of a more general question. So let's say I have a big React and Flux application, and I'm kind of I really like the typing of Elm. Is there a way of gradually introducing Elm within my Flux part of the application? And I see a lot of people nodding yes, but if you have used that, gradually shifting towards using Elm for the Flux, for the state management, would you recommend it or not recommend it?
Can I hand you the microphone to answer that question?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm the expert, but there is a possibility. So one thing that you could do is if you build something new that doesn't have to communicate a lot with something else, the application, you can do that in Elm and embed that in your application, which is fairly easy. Even if you need to somehow communicate, it's a bit involved, but you can install ports, which is not really mentioned in any of the talks yet, but it's a way to communicate with JavaScript on the one side and on the other, which allows you to transfer data to update. But do you have an advice there? No. So it is possible to do it gradually. If I would advise it, I'm not sure, because you can only spend your time once, and if you have to maintain a code base with React and Elm and some other language, it's probably going to be a hassle. So I'm not sure if I would advise it to coexist these code bases next to each other.
Yeah, so because I'm saying it because right now, for example, we have this
pretty large Flux state management part, which uses a lot of traversers through a lot of, well, kind of nested structures, JSON or whatever is coming in. So right now we're evaluating things like Flow or TypeScript, or, well, that's why the question for Elm. So is that a real competitor for Flow or TypeScript if you want to put that in? Or? Yeah, but if you already have the JavaScript part, yeah. So, like.
I think Evan just wrote a blog post about introducing Elm slowly into your code base. If you look for it, I find it. It should be there.
Yeah, I read a blog post from Richard Feldman, who is the lead developer of No Red Inc., who foster the Elm language. And he specifically said that that's how they introduced Elm into no red ink, because they used to build in React, and they slowly or gradually rebuild parts of their application in Elm. So I think it's very well possible.
If you look for people more experienced, you probably best know that checking the Elm stack channel, there's probably quite a lot of people who have done this.
Those people to help you.
I have a question. You use the MDL library for the buttons, but it was for the layout to use other buttons. But why do you have to change your model? It has nothing to do with your model.
Well, there's it's kind of an event loop, the model view update, and the material library wants to be part of the loop, so it wants to do ripple effects, and so that's why you have to include it in your model and your update and your view.
But now it's the model is not clean anymore. It depends on some library somewhere. So that's a pity.
Well, the clean part is that you only have to specify, I want to use the material model, and you don't have to know what exactly is all in the material model.
Yeah, but when you have a larger code base, you have to change all your code, all your models, all your updates, only to use a library to show some buttons.
Yeah, I have no experience with a large application and introducing MDL there, but
now you have to do it in one file, then you have to do it in 30 files.
You have to change it at the top level, and then you only have to change your update functionally. And normally, if you have a bigger application, you would diverse your update function. So you only have to change your main update function in the main model, everything.
And it was not given in the model to the buttons?
He used the basic beginner's program, which doesn't allow for the return of this tuple, the model and the command. So that's why he had to change his update function. But actually, it's type checked and it's immutable. So I think the risk of introducing this library is very.
No, it's no risk, but
Also,
now you can.
It's not that big of a change. Things will take you
But now you cannot use your model for another UI.
No, you can, but the only thing he has added is the MDL attribute, which is at the top level of your model. So you can, you cannot no longer use the MDL attribute, but you can use whatever you want.
you see the counter is also a child model, and there's no change there. I think that's what you.
Okay, and where's the button used?
Here at the.
Sorry to interrupt, but we're a bit over time, so some people might want to go home. So if you want to continue this discussion, you can stay, and everybody is invited to stay. There's probably beer and some snacks. So I'm going to wrap up for the official part of this meetup. Thanks everyone for coming, and especially thanks for our presentators and WCC and Davisi for sponsoring. We will be send out a poll about with some questions for further future meetups and what you think about it and what we could do better. So enjoy your beer and continue the discussion, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you.